Hi everybody, it's Kara, and I have a few pieces of cat scrappiness goodness to share with you today. I got a little design team haul from her, and then I thought I would do an embossing tutorial with you guys because I realized I have been doing a lot of embossing lately, and I couldn't remember if I'd done any tutorials, so I thought I would show you one of the things that you could use embossing powder for. But first, let me share the few little goodies I got from Kat. I only asked for a couple things because I have so much stuff left from her previous design team packages because she's so generous that I just asked for a few specific things. And I asked for these little fishing poles. They are made out of the balsa wood. I'm thinking about making some masculine cards and thought those would be really cute. And then I have a girlfriend that's getting ready to have her third boy, and I was thinking about that when I got some bottles and some rattles made out of chipboard. And then Kat also threw in this little cute package of St. Patrick's Day goodness, which I thought was really adorable. And she also gave us a little package for a challenge, which I'm going to show you what I created in a separate video. We had to use certain pieces of things that she gave us in a card or layout or something, and everybody's going to get a chance to check those out and vote on those. So I'm going to show those to you guys in another video coming very, very soon. But first, I wanted to show you how I made this little rattle on the card that I made for my friend, which hopefully she doesn't see tonight. But anyway, it's embossed and sanded. I wanted it to kind of look like a silver vintage looking rattle, kind of go with the distressed looking card that I made. And then the sentiment is from Paper Tray Ink. It says heavens to Betsy, and inside I just put a little card. I haven't written the message yet, so I'll show it to you. It says, I'm over the moon for you, because they just found out that they were having a little boy today. So let me show you what I did. Embossing is really simple. Basically, you need whatever you want to emboss, and then this one I'm going to do a piece of chipboard, relatively thick, and then you need some slow drying ink. A lot of people like to use Versamark, which is my choice as well, but you can also use any slow drying ink that gives you time to get the embossing powder on it and then heat set it with your heat gun. I like to use Versamark because it is a watermark stamp pad, so it's kind of basically doesn't have any color to it, and I like to use colored embossing powders. A lot of people like to use the colored ink and clear embossing powder. It's kind of your own personal preference. But basically what I do with the Versamark, because I also like to use the watermark images sometimes in things that I make, is I have one that I keep only for embossing because, as you can see, it gets good and gross. Very, very grimy, lots of ink and embossing powder and stuff in there. So I don't use it for anything other than the really messy embossing. And I do also keep a Versamark pen, because if there's any little small areas, it's much quicker to use one end of the pen, which I was doing earlier, and you can still kind of see it there. Anyway, it's much easier to use that and get in all those little teeny nooks and crannies. So when I'm embossing something like this, where it's a good solid flat surface, I basically just open it up and press it down pretty firmly and get a really good coating of the Versamark ink on the item that I'm embossing. I want to make sure it's on there. Versamark ink is, pretty sticky stuff. You can see on there, hopefully, when it's covered, it has kind of a wet look to it. And then basically, again, depending on the item, I just sprinkle the embossing powder on top. I do use a scratch piece of paper because all of the extra is going to go right back in here. This happens to be Scrappiness embossing powder in a silver of some kind, silver tinsel. But I use several different kinds. I like this Scrappiness kind. I like the Zing embossing powder. That's probably my favorite. And then I also like the brand that you can get at Michael's The Recollections. It's all good embossing powder. Some of them give a little bit different effect. You kind of have to play with them until you get used to it. So then you just basically kind of take it out of there And normally I'm a little bit more graceful, but of course because I'm on camera, I'm not going to be. And you don't have to dump it like I did. I'm just kind of doing it for the sake of being able to show you guys how it gets all covered. And then you basically are going to take your heat gun and set it. And this is going to be a little noisy, so I apologize. You might want to lower the volume for a minute when I turn this on. I'm actually going to do it behind the camera so I don't blow all this embossing powder around. So give me 1 second. Okay, doesn't take very long. And there is the rattle with all of the silver embossing powder on it. I also took the Versamark pen and went around the edges. And basically it's really simple. I just took the end of the pen I wanted to use, ran it along here like so, got it all coated, and I did it in sections. And then I just drug it through that powder again. And I have done more than one embossing layer on an item if I wanted a thicker coat, so don't hesitate. You could always dip this back in the Versamark and put another layer of embossing powder on there if you wanted to do so. It adds a really cool effect as it starts to kind of layer up. I've done that before when I wanted to get a certain kind of look on a project. If you look back in some of my videos, you'll see some things that I've embossed. I've embossed the regular paper and chipboard and things like that, but I've also embossed metal and dominoes and different things like that. It's a lot of fun. And as I said, it gives a really cool look to your project. So for this particular one, when I was done embossing this really cute little creation from Kat, I took my Tim Holtz sanding block and I sanded off some of the little edges and little rough spots to give it kind of a more dinged and dented look, which I think it turned out pretty well. And then I just had a couple pieces of paper that I had distressed, and I attached it with a little bit of seam binding and adhered it to the card. And I think it's really sweet and simple. I love this little rattle. And one of the things that I really like about a lot of the images, the die cuts that Kat offers at her shop is that there are a lot of them there that I wouldn't necessarily want to buy the die myself because I don't know that I'd get enough use out of it. But I like that I can go and just get a few of them and have them for projects like this cute little rattle and the other things that I showed you in the goodies that she had got me. And I think that's a really nice option for those of us who either don't want to invest in the die or just don't have the money because those things can get so expensive. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully, if you haven't, you give embossing a try. I especially like I said, getting all the different colors. I have a ton of them. I, in fact, just ordered more from Kat, and I'll share those with you when I get them. They're a ton of fun, and they have a lot to offer to your projects, so check them out. Again, if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I will be posting a second video that's a little contest between the design team with some goodies that Kat sent us here pretty soon. So check that out when you see it up, and vote for mine. That would be great. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great night. Bye.